Hello, everyone, and welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Health Leaders, the place for peer-sourced and solution-focused insights for healthcare executives. My name is G. Hatfield, and I'm the nursing editor for Health Leaders. Today, we are speaking with Jason Dunne, who is the Chief Academic Officer at the Arizona College of Nursing, about the nursing shortage and the current landscape of nursing education. So, hi, Jason, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. Thanks for being here. So let's jump right into it. As many nurse leaders and other healthcare executives know, we are knee deep in one of the biggest nursing shortages and workforce shortages in healthcare history. So, what do you think are some of the main drivers of the nursing shortage, and do you think it will continue?
Great question. And certainly, I believe the baby boomer generation continues to age and retire. So, the American
Mm,
Association of Colleges of Nursing anticipates that 1 million nurses will retire by 2030. So, that's not too far off in the distance. So, at the same
mhm,
time, I think our population is aging and living longer, creating higher demands for nurses. And really, in recent years, the pandemic only exacerbated the situation, and many nurses opted to leave the profession early, unfortunately. So, also interesting stats according to the Labor and Bureau of Statistics, the nursing workforce is expected to expand by 6% over the next decade. So, that's
mhm,
meaning about 100 to 200,000 new openings for new nurses through 2032. And the Bureau also projects that 193,000 openings for new nurses each year through that same time period will be as a result of nurse retention or probably nurse retention challenges, requirements for retirement, and then really just
mhm,
those things coupled together. It looks pretty bleak as you look forward, honestly. The other piece that's really interesting I want to cover is nurses are experiencing burnout, which is also causing them to leave the profession early. And really,
mhm,
burnout is a state of mental, physical, emotional exhaustion created by repeated and sustained stressors at work. The other piece that's near and dear to my heart is nursing school enrollment is not keeping pace with the demand for new nurses. So, even with the
mhm,
high interest in the profession, many qualified applicants across the country are just not being admitted because there are not enough spots for nursing program applicants
mhm.
to educate the next generation of nurses and keep pace with the demand. So, with Arizona College of Nursing, we are committed to increasing access to nursing education across the country, really to help support the sustainability of the healthcare system. Happy to say we've got 20 campuses now across 12 different states, and we're continuing to grow to provide these opportunities for folks interested in nursing as a career.
Absolutely. So, what do you think are some of the reasons that access to nursing education is being blocked? I know you mentioned there's just not enough spots. Are there any other factors?
I think it goes back to funding, government funding,
Hmm.
state appropriation funding, those kinds of pieces. Also,
Hmm.
clinical availability. So, as students progress through the nursing program, they actually need clinical experiences in health systems to hone
Hmm.
skills and be competent. So, those are not as readily available as we've been moving forward. And the pandemic really highlighted that as systems closed their doors to nursing students and nursing schools for all good reason, of course, as they were managing the pandemic. So, I think those are certainly some reasons as we move forward. And also, I know schools of nursing struggle with recruiting faculty. So, qualified,
Hmm.
minimum master's prepared nursing faculty to teach the next generation of nurses. So, I think, really it sounds like a perfect storm as you think about the future of nursing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, what do you think are the top five things that you think that new nurses need to learn that will prepare them for current industry challenges?
Yeah, I believe preparing career ready nurses with nursing skills at healthcare facilities needs is crucial. But there are also
Hmm.
these other qualities I think that we need to ensure we instill to ensure career longevity. So, one of the things that top of mind for me is critical thinking skills, which really
Hmm.
forms the basis in how we approach situations in terms of analysis, integration, prioritization. And that forms the foundation of this term called clinical judgment, which really is an essential component of safe clinical practice. That's one piece.
Hmm.
So I believe understanding the burnout piece that I alluded to earlier and really recognizing it in nursing students, nurses in general. And really, this number is staggering. 52% of nurses are considering leaving their current position due to insufficient staffing. The number
Wow.
is
Yeah.
staggering. I mean, it would have
Hmm.
detrimental effects on patient care and the healthcare system as we look forward. The other piece is in terms of balancing and I guess combating this self care and burnout is the whole idea of this self care. So really
Mhm.
helping new nurses understand what does that mean and really intentionally building it into a nursing curriculum so folks out of the gate are understanding how to take care of themselves, how to fill their cup.
Mhm.
And then the other piece is really the world we live in, as you know, is very diverse.
Mhm.
Richness, the cultural richness is amazing in this country alone. So, nurses, that creates a level of complexity for nursing, is that nurses need to possess cultural competency, meaning having the skills and abilities and the skill set to really take care of patients and their families from a variety of cultural backgrounds and settings. The other
Mhm.
piece is communication, multitasking are other key elements. And really, I'll end with nursing is really always evolving. You don't have to change careers to change your job. So while nurses, there's so many diverse opportunities for nurses. You may get tired of one spot. There's so many opportunities for nurses to pursue other experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I like I like the idea of communication being key. Obviously, I'm a journalist,
Yeah.
so so I believe in that as well. So how, you've mentioned the kind of changing landscape of
Mhm.
what the nursing workforce looks like. So how has nursing education changed over time to accommodate the new generations of nurses and their needs and viewpoints?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I've been in nursing education for the past 20 years and certainly witnessed significant changes through the years. But I guess there are a
Mhm.
few considerations in terms of changing viewpoints, et cetera. So, one is the integration of technology. I believe that
Mhm.
has shifted nursing and other healthcare professions tremendously. So, for example, the
Mhm.
use of high fidelity simulation, and that's simply these mannequins, in my day didn't do much of anything, hard plastic,
Mhm.
but these newer mannequins can mimic human situations and human experiences. So, having these
Mhm.
experiences for our students allow them to engage in patient care scenarios and the safe environment, really helping them to build the necessary clinical judgment skills that are essential for safe practice. Of course, online learning, virtual
Mhm.
science labs are on the rise. The idea of competency based education is another big shift. So it's not more previous time spent in clinical class, really high focus. Now it's really on the demonstration of specific competencies. Are students gaining the learning they
Mm.
need as they move forward? And many programs actually tailor educational experiences to the individual student needs where they are. The other piece that's really front and center is interprofessional education. So over the last
Mhm.
number of years, working with other members of the healthcare team is really beneficial. Learning alongside of each other, understanding roles, responsibilities as you get out into the healthcare world really helps to create great patient outcomes. I'd say the other couple of pieces is focus on holistic and patient-centered care. So,
Mhm.
as I've been in education for about 20 years now, nursing curricula have expanded to include education and training on cultural competency, diversity, and inclusion, really to support the
Mhm.
growing number of diverse patient populations that we serve. Mental health is a big thing. Wellness, like we talked about, self care, nurses recognizing and incorporating self care in the profession. This whole idea
Mhm.
of lifelong learning is another huge emphasis. And as we know, healthcare continues to evolve and become more
Mhm.
complex. So, really, we've got to keep pace in order to provide safe, effective care to our patients. Couple of folks, other points before I end, but just addressing generational differences is also really huge. So over the
Mhm.
years, I believe nursing education had to adapt to the learning styles of younger generations who often prefer collaboration, hands-on, technology-rich experiences. So my day,
Mhm.
25 years ago, would no longer serve the students that we serve today. And I guess I'll end with really just a focus on ethics and social justice. Over the last
Mhm.
decade, I mean, there's such a stronger focus on ethics in nursing education related to patient autonomy and social justice. Our world is very small and very connected, so it's really important that new nurses understand global health challenges, and nursing
Mhm.
education is preparing nurses to work in these diverse environments.
Absolutely, yeah. Could not agree more. I think, I'm only 25, so I see it from my viewpoint as well, with my generation and our prioritization of social justice and things like
Mhm.
that. So,
Right.
um, so you mentioned the new mannequins and things like that. So how are new technologies, like maybe AI or robotics, impacting nursing education?
Yeah, it's this enhanced simulation and training have really been game changers for nursing education, really because the
Mhm.
tools provide such a highly realistic clinical scenario environment, and that having that realism infused in your nursing education truly helps to build the knowledge and skills of new nurses. And nurses, as I said earlier, the younger generation want the technology rich experience. So they come to our
Mhm.
door expecting to be immersed in technology. And so this is one great way where we can expose students to these high fidelity mannequins and really encourage them to make the mistakes in this safe learning environment. So there's a learning that happens and mistakes are not made when they're dealing with real live patients, which have, of course, further implications.
Mhm.
Virtual reality is becoming widespread. It's being used to create these immersive learning experiences where students can interact with virtual patients
Mhm.
and you can control the variables and different kinds of things and make it very real for the student learning experience. Other pieces are, personalized learning and tutoring. I believe AI has certainly blown up our world, for lack of a better way of
Mhm.
putting it. But
For better
certainly,
or for worse, yeah.
and I think the balance is there, right? If we achieve the balance
Mhm.
with AI, but I believe it
Mhm.
really helps us produce intel on students' performance and then can in turn help create these personalized learning plans that are more tailored to individual student learning needs. Because again, students are coming to our door wanting to be an individual. They are an individual. And so blanket education no longer works. So the more we can tailor
Mhm.
and be individualized to students' needs, the more I think the better the student outcomes. And then, really, I believe AI gives us more data driven information that can help make decisions in learning situations. And then
Mhm.
the last piece I'll say is just really it's about nursing education, nursing schools like Arizona College of Nursing, teaching data literacy. So students must
Mm.
understand how to interpret and utilize data. Because as you know, in your generation, the data is at our fingertips. It's constantly
Mhm.
moving fast. And so what we need to do is be really intentional about helping students interpret and utilize and understand what the data is saying to make best evidence-based decisions for our patients.
Absolutely. It's that whole idea of, there used to be not enough data, but now there's almost too much. And so it's about, knowing how to parse through that and pick and choose what you need to actually look at.
Exactly.
Um, yeah. So earlier we were talking about access to nursing education and, nursing schools not necessarily filling out the seats that they need or having not enough
Mhm.
seats. So, what kinds of programs can nursing schools create to draw in new prospective students?
This is always top of mind as long as I've been in nursing education. Again, how do we
Mhm.
tailor the experience, not just the academic piece, but the general student experience to better suit students as they move through the curriculum? So I would say one is really a student centric approach with a focus on the whole person, not just as a student. So really listening, providing those resources to removing obstacles. Many, many years ago when I went to school, there were traditional students. I don't believe there are many
Mhm.
traditional students today. Arizona College of Nursing students, the folks that we serve, they have families, jobs, children, other priorities. And it's really
Mhm.
important for nursing schools to help students navigate life so they can be successful academically. If we don't help them build those life skills, academics is not even on the priority list. So I feel like
Mhm.
a big part of nursing education, what we do, is looking at the whole student. So it's really helping them life coach them so they can deal with life and be connected to resources that they may need to support their families, their life, and the situations they're going through. I believe it's also really important, to the social mission, social justice conversation earlier, is making sure that our mission values align with what matters to our students and the pressing
Mhm.
issues of today. And then there's lots of opportunities to engage students in different ways leadership, Student Nursing Association. We at Arizona College sponsor students to be part of the National Black Nurses Association, the National Association of
Mhm.
Hispanic Nurses. And really, we just want to create a culture where students are engaged and active members of the learning process. I think that is key as they're partnering with faculty in our organization to be successful.
Absolutely. And I like how that kind of mirrors what's going on in health systems with nurses as well. A lot of the CNOs and leaders that I speak to are trying to tailor their workforce programs to the needs of their nurses as well. So it's good to see that being mirrored.
Exactly.
Um, yeah. So my last question for you is how do you think nursing schools can work with health systems and CNOs and other nurse leaders to create academic pipelines into the nursing workforce?
Yeah, another excellent question. I'll say just to begin, this is an essential component of really
Hmm.
sustaining nursing workforce. So I believe schools need to work closely with clinical partners to ensure that curriculum and training aligns closely with the needs of the workforce. As I said earlier, health
Mhm.
information is changing rapidly. We, as nursing education programs, schools, need to keep pace so our students are workforce relevant. And all of our nursing
Mhm.
campuses across the United States have this community advisory board that's inclusive of actually healthcare partners in their local communities. These advisory boards are essential to creating those synergies between the academic teams and the practice teams to ensure lines of communication are open and also that we're able to be responsive to the needs of our practice partners and how quickly health is changing and health information is changing. One of the things I like to highlight with Arizona College that we do really well, it's I believe a leading
Mhm.
practice across the country, is we host an annual clinical summit. So
Mm.
we are in 20, we have 20 campuses across 13 different states. So we bring clinical partners all across the country, and this time it was in Arizona, together to have a 3 or 4 day conversation about clinical partnerships. How does that look? How do we enhance each other's workforce needs and create the pipeline of sustainability? So those are things that are really important. Nurse residency programs come to mind as well, joint faculty appointments, mentorship between academia and practice. I mean, even scholarships and grants and tuition reimbursements, so financial support for our students. And
Mhm.
health systems have often, signed on with helping to provide those types of tuition reimbursements. And really, I think just to end, coming together and being that unified voice and advocate for the profession. As we know, nursing is a trusted profession, and we really need to continue to advocate for the needs of our nurses, short term as well as long term.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for your time. I'm really grateful to have had this opportunity to get to know you a little bit and hear your insights. And thank you so much to our audience for listening.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.